My name is Angela and I'm a visually impaired designer.
Hey everyone, how are you doing? In today's video, I wanted to share with you 5 things that I wish I knew before I started grad school. I went to design grad school and I recently graduated just over a year ago, which is very exciting. Now, I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts in graphic design. Now, at the end of my schooling, I had discovered that I wanted to do something a little more specialized and focus on accessibility and helping those with disabilities within the design realm. The thing that helped me discover this was a UX design class that I took, and it was really helpful to me, but I didn't feel like I had the skill set that I needed in order to get a job in the field that I wanted. So I chose to go back to design school so that I could make those dreams happen. I went to the University of Washington for my graduate degree. It was a 2-year program and our cohort was rather large. We had 11 students and typically they take 3 to 6 people in one cohort. Let's launch into the 5 things I wish I knew before I started grad school. But first, make sure to subscribe to my channel below if you want to see more content from me in the future. Alright, so the first thing that I wish I knew was how different graduate school was going to be from my undergrad. I wasn't sure what to expect when going into graduate school. But after all, I had finished 2 different degrees that were undergrad degrees, and so that's all I was really familiar with. I wish I would have took the time to do a little bit more of research to figure out what exactly grad school would be like. A couple of things that were very different were the amount of reading that we were required to do. There was so much academic reading, and that was not something that I was used to. Another big thing that was different was I'm so used to being surrounded by so many students doing the same projects and looking at the same research and doing the same thing. But when you're in graduate school, your small little cohort, everyone's looking at different research topics, they're talking to different professors, they're doing stuff elsewhere off campus, and everyone's just doing their own thing. And you have to be a lot more self-motivated to get what you want out of graduate school. So the first year of my program, we had a little more flexibility to take electives or classes that we felt like we needed to take in order to prepare us for our thesis the second year. So I took some classes my first year, like exhibition design, storytelling design, and book design to help me with what I wanted to do in my future, to kind of fill in the gaps of what I didn't get with my undergrad or in my professional career before jumping into grad school. Now, the second year of the program is 100% focused on your thesis. So you have a whole year where you do your research, and you should ideally be doing research your first year as well if you know what you want to work on. But the second year is dedicated to research, designing, and then showing to people what you've created through your research. There was definitely people in my cohort who didn't know exactly what they wanted to do their thesis on before coming to grad school. But for me, I already knew what I wanted to do. This leads me into the second thing I wish I knew. And that is that relationships between other students and the professors are way different when you're in graduate school versus your undergrad. Now, in my mind, I was totally on the same level as the people who are undergrads. After all, it wasn't that long since I was in their shoes, so I didn't really view it as different. But for the undergraduate students, they almost like looked up to us as someone to look at and as a precedence of what they should be looking for in the future. Now, the relationship with professors was quite different from when I was in my undergrad programs. It wasn't very often in my undergrad program for me to talk to my design professors. I would really only approach them if I had a question about an assignment, or if I wanted a critique from them, I wanted to clarify something with them, or I just had a question for them in general. Typically, this would happen just in class as we're discussing things, or occasionally I would send them an email. Whereas in graduate school, you're constantly working one-on-one with all the professors that are in your program. There's a lot of collaboration that goes on between the students and the professors. This is definitely something I had to get used to, and it took me a while before I realized that this relationship between the professors was quite different in graduate school than in my undergrad. So finally I was able to catch on, but I am afraid that I kind of caught that on a little bit too late because all the other people in my cohort had already figured this out. And so I was kind of behind on building that relationship with the professors. I wish that I would have took more time to ask them about their research and do stuff with them more on a one-on-one basis than I did. The professors in my program are so amazing and they have so much knowledge to share. And I wish I would have took more advantage of that while I had it under my fingertips. So in my design program, we were each assigned a professor for a thesis project to work one-on-one with on our project. We were also given a committee where we could add other professors or professionals from other places on our committee. This gave me the opportunity to get close to the professors that I was working with on my thesis and to have them help me do research, get feedback, and just guide me throughout the process of doing my thesis project. I think that there's a couple of professors that really could have helped me with my thesis project, and I think that the thing that would have made the difference, like I said, was learning more about their research and what their passions are before we were assigned who we were going to be mentored by. That way I would have had a better idea of who I think would have been helpful on my committee. The third thing I wish I would have realized is opportunities don't just land in your lap. When I first started graduate school, I thought more of that the opportunities would just show up, they would happen, and it would be great. But I soon learned later that any opportunity that I actually wanted, I had to be proactive. I had to put myself out there. I had to find the opportunities for myself. When I didn't put in effort, I didn't get anything out of it. I had to do all the work that I wanted to receive the opportunities that I wanted to get there. And once I finally figured this out, I was able to do a couple of things that I really thought were helpful in my degree. I think as a graduate student, it's really important for you to go do what you want to do and don't wait for other people to come to you. It can be easy to get caught up in assignments and requirements to meet for your classes, but the opportunities that are really going to make the biggest impact are things that you're going to find outside of the classes that you're taking. And these opportunities that you seek don't even need to be within the school. Sure, the schools have so many opportunities, but being in a new area, I was in Seattle where I hadn't lived before, and I wish I would have reached out farther outside of the school to find opportunities that would have been helpful to me in my short 2 years of being in Seattle. One area I wish I showed more of my passion and was more outgoing about was doing research and writing papers and trying to get published or getting my work known and being more out there with people who are in the community. There were so many people in my cohort who were working with professors and being involved in research projects, and I didn't even realize these types of opportunities were out there. And that was on me because I didn't do my research to figure out what my opportunities were, and once I found those opportunities, to seek them out and do it on my own. I kind of was expecting more of guidance from people around me to help me know what I should do or what I should participate in. Don't wait for that. Go out there, find what you want, and go for it. The fourth thing I wish I knew was how important school-life balance was. Now, school was everything to me. That was my whole focus. I didn't have a job while I was in grad school, so I drank, breathed, and lived grad school. When I wasn't in classes, I was always doing homework, I was always reading something, I was always designing something, and I never gave myself the proper amount of breaks that I needed. Especially in my first year. The second year of grad school, I learned a little bit more about how we need to have that balance, and graduate school doesn't have to be your whole life. Your life doesn't need to be on hold while you're in graduate school. You need to live your life and treat graduate school as a full-time job or something that's a huge part of your life, and it probably will take more hours than a full-time job, but you still need to find the balance of having a life while doing graduate school. After the summer of my first year of graduate school, I felt a huge shift where I was really focused on my schooling, but I also tried to experience other things while I was in graduate school. And for whatever reason in my mind, I had to be so focused on school. That was why I was there. This is why I was spending thousands and thousands of dollars, was to get this education. And I didn't realize that it was only just the schooling that was going to be part of the experience. It was the culture, it was being around the people who I was with, learning what other people were studying and researching, that made the whole conglomeration of my experience of graduate school. The students in my cohort were always inviting me to go to social events, They would even just go get a drink, or they would study together, they would talk about research and do other things. And I pretty consistently said no for a long time. Thank you so much for continually never giving up and always inviting me to these events, because eventually I figured it out and I sure love spending time with y'all. Shout out, you guys are the best. Alright, the fifth and final thing I wish I knew might be the most significant or important thing that I wish people would know. So listen up. When you're in design school and you're working on a thesis project, your thesis project is just one project out of many projects that you'll work on in your lifetime. I feel like me and some other people in our cohort put so much weight on our thesis project, it almost felt like a life or death situation. That sounds dramatic, but seriously, my thesis project meant the world to me. And honestly, I can probably count on my hand how many times that I've actually looked at my thesis or shared it with people since I finished graduate school. Now, I do want to keep my project close. I want to work on it more, and I have had the opportunity to share it with you a little bit here on YouTube, and I hope to do a little bit more in the future. I also have a website where I talk about my research for my thesis project. But, guys, your thesis project is just another project that's in your portfolio. It is not the end of the world if it's not perfect. I so wish I would have realized this. And in fact, I feel like I realized this, but for some reason I just couldn't get past the fact that I thought this was the project of all projects. And when I was done with my project, I was like, oh my gosh, that wasn't as big of a deal as I made it out to be. This isn't the only project people will be looking at when they're trying to hire you. This project does not define who you are. It is important, and do your best, but realize you don't have to define your whole life or your whole future career on this one project. Alright, I hope these things are helpful for you and that you can learn from my experience. Graduate school was such an important part of my life, and I would love to share more about my experience with graduate school. So let me know in the comments below if there's anything that you want to know about or any type of videos that you want to see. But for now, I hope you have a fantastic week, and we'll see you later. Bye!